Anthem Blue Cross and Common Threads are helping schools across the country learn about healthier food preparation. And here in LA, they're joined by the Sparks and will provide education, recipes, and knowledge to students and families about healthier options. Learn more at anthem.com/ca/sparks. Anthem Blue Cross is the trade name of Blue Cross of California.
It's important to properly dispose of unwanted medication or sharps. MedProject offers free and convenient disposal options near you. To learn more, call 844-MED-PROJECT or visit medproject.org.
In times of old, in times of blue, there's a God to follow to make it true. It's the pop culture field, and you will.
Welcome back, everybody, to a very thankful episode of the Pop Culture Field Manual podcast. This is our Thanksgiving episode, and the first thing we want to say is that we are thankful for all of you for listening in. It's been a great year, and we got a little bit of time left before 2022 bows out. Quick note on the outset, folks, if you want to support the channel, you can always go to Buy Me a Coffee, PCFM Podcast. We have wonderful merchandise you can link through our Instagram to fun times. And then most of all, we'd love for you to join us on our Patreon, patreon.com/PCFM Podcast. We have wonderful perks for 3 different tiers, full-length episodes, Patreon-exclusive episodes, and a once-a-month live movie stream with Cameron and myself. So good times. Very thankful for all the opportunities that you have all been instrumental in bringing us. That being said, on with the episode.
Absolutely. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, folks.
Today we have something a little bit different for y'all. Not necessarily based on pop culture, even though it has a slight element of it. But I think today, being, that it is close or the day of Thanksgiving. What day does this come out? Is it going to be Thanksgiving Day?
It'll be the day before, because it's always the last Thursday.
Before.
So this will be coming out on the Thursday before, or the Wednesday before.
Yeah. Just since Thanksgiving is about to rear its head in our direction, we want to take time just to, reflect on the year, mention some things that we're thankful for, some pieces of pop culture we're thankful for, lessons learned, things we did, games we've played, diseases we've recovered from, you name it.
Bullets dodged.
Mm-hmm. I think that is more than appropriate for Thanksgiving. So, Izzy, I know you worked long and hard on creating these questions for us to answer. So, which one do you want to hit first, brother?
Well, let's just start at the top, man.
Okay.
So I have a couple of questions, just kind of so you guys at home can reflect on your year along with us. I just came up with a few questions that Cameron and I can answer for you. Well, the first one is, what are some changes that you are thankful for this year? It could be personal change, circumstantial change, mindset change, just anything.
I think that's a really good question. I guess I'll start this off then, just since I am talking. But
just keep going.
But yeah, I'll just keep the ball rolling. Some changes I am thankful for this year. Well, I think you hit it, as far as just like providing some things to think about. Mindset has been a big change this year, just following some opportunities and, us working on Shift Fire, us working on this podcast, trying to grow it greater than what it was last year. I think definitely my mindset has changed even more than what it was when we started. Because when we started, it was like there was an element of fear, which we've talked about in depth before. Not sure on this podcast, but definitely a conversation we've had maybe offline. But, fear of starting something from nothing, it can be pretty scary, just because there's that constant element of failure. But I think we know good enough that failure, breeds success, and you can't be afraid to fail. You just have to go all in on things. So that that mindset of just going all in this podcast, like obviously you guys know who are listening to this, the podcast has undergone some changes, and we're extremely thankful for, everyone who's joined us on Patreon, and extremely thankful for everyone who continues to listen to this podcast. We're, we've gotten great criticism from our listeners, great feedback that totally goes into how we do it and what we plan on doing in the future. So just those changes, I'm very thankful for, and, hopefully we continue to move along. Personal changes, I find myself in a new living arrangement, but in a good way. Like my fiance and I escaped Hollywood, which I'm so thankful for. We, humble beginnings. My fiance, you guys know, her name is Sydney. Me and her, she got into medical school. So we moved, we upgraded, very thankful, got out of Studio City, the city we were living in, which was like 2 miles away from the Hollywood sign. Just not a good place. No. Yeah, just, filled with a lot of negative people. LA has this stigma about it. It's like LA, New York, it's nobody's really, really friendly and whatnot. And we lived there a year in a studio apartment. Had our run-ins with transients and, people trying to steal our stuff and getting cars broken into and just, not feeling safe in our own home, which is a terrible feeling because the home is supposed to be where you go to relax. And, that's a sanctuary, right? And when you have things trying to take that away from you, you can't really feel good at home, and that's exactly what it's supposed to feel like, safe at home. Yep. So we got out of there, and that's been an amazing change. So we're living still in LA County, but in a city just on the outskirts, a nice mountain town, I like to call it. Really good, neighborhood community here. Definitely a place I can see myself raising kids. But I want to get the fuck out of California, so so maybe not. But I'm very thankful for that change. What about you, Izzy? Since I've talked for like 5 minutes,
that's all right, man. Hey, it's your podcast too. Changes thankful for this year. I'm definitely thankful. I mean, the biggest thing, obviously, for me is I not only did I meet my wife this year, but I met her and then we got married. So that's the biggest change. That happened. So that's a big monumental shift.
Sure,
for me.
That's a life change. That's not just like a tiny change.
Yeah, it's a life change, and I'm very happy for it. So it's been a net positive. I'm ready for all the challenges and all the good times. It's just been fun. It's been fun and educational, in Christianity, we call it a sanctifying experience. It purifies you of selfishness and self-centeredness, because now I am a husband with a wife and I focus on her, and there are all the, lots of commands in the Bible and structure in the Bible about the role that I am to fulfill. And so I'm figuring that out. And it's where I want to be. Like I never, there's an idea called like the growth mindset. I never wanted to just kind of stay the same. It's always kind of like want to be improving and growing, in some way. And so, as a Christian, one of the greatest endeavors that one could ever enter into is getting married, and starting a family. Yeah. So because there's a lot of specific things in the Bible that address that structure. So that's the biggest change for me. I moved as well. I moved a little bit out. We used to live less than a mile away from each other.
Yeah, Izzy and I used to be next door neighbors.
Yeah, just as it happened, even when we started doing the gameology stuff. But now I've moved, and that was a good change too, because I was already on the path to really just kind of getting rid of stuff. I just wanted to offload a bunch of things. I knew, I just wanted to become less attached to material things. So I was already on that path. Then when I got married, I really had to get rid of everything except for, the desk and the setup that I have now. That's basically my workspace. I'm in like I'm in the living room of her, her place where she was living. So I moved in with her and I got rid of all my furniture and 90% of my, my artwork and my clothing and books. But I'm glad for it, because it really makes you draw a line on what you actually want, and most of the stuff I had to just reckon with. I'm like, I'm never going to read that book. I'm never going to wear that shirt. I'm never going to sit in that chair again. It's fine. It doesn't really matter in the long run. So it's been really good. And we're still within like the first, at the time of this recording, the first like month and a half of being married. So it's been
Yeah,
very
man.
short. So I'm looking forward to all the challenges that come in the future, you know.
Okay. I mean, you totally mentioned getting married, and I totally blanked on the fact that I got engaged this year, which is amazing.
That's a monumental life change in and of itself. Yeah. You are you're locked in, my friend.
I am locked in. I mean, I've been in the I'm engaged mindset since we had our first date, because I knew this lady was like amazing, and I needed to put a baby in that as soon as possible, which is one way of, you know, making things permanent.
Locking it down. Not always though, man. So
not always.
I'm
Yeah,
glad
not
that
in
you
today's
had a committed
world.
mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, you know, maybe that'll happen in the future. But in our current situation, a baby would not be good.
Oh my gosh.
Not saying that children aren't a blessing, but
but you guys
it would ruin
she's in
our lives
medical
right now.
school. Yeah.
yeah, it would. A baby would ruin our lives.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, yeah, I got engaged this year. That's been amazing. That's an amazing change that I'm extremely thankful for.
Mm-hmm.
But good. Let's see. The next question on here is, what are some things that you have stayed the same that you were thankful for?
Yeah, so there's like
that's a good
changes,
one.
and then there's what stayed the same. You're like, well, I'm glad that hasn't changed.
Yeah.
You know? For me, there's that we were already on the track of doing this kind of of shift fire, gameology, the podcast and live streaming. For me, that was my work rhythm. And
Sure.
I'm glad that has remained the same. Like when I first moved down here and my stuff was everywhere, I wasn't fully moved in. It felt very, it was upheaval, man. I left my apartment that I moved out of. I'd been there for 10 years. And so I had a whole life there.
I had no idea it was 10 years.
Yeah. So the thing that I was one of the things I was most grateful for when I moved in here was streaming. I revamped my schedule. I put it on a regular schedule. I switched all my streams to morning. You guys can come and hang out with me at twitch.tv/myhappyself. Shameless plug there. But I love streaming. When I sit in this chair and I get everything set up and I'm like in my zone, get ready to stream and hang out with my community and play some games, man, there's just nothing better. So in the midst of this kind of positive but very stressful life change, I had this kind of regular thing, that I could kind of settle into in terms of a work environment. So that was really cool. That was something that changed, stayed the same, that I'm very thankful for.
Well, nice, dude. I think kind of piggybacking off that, I mean, you mentioned your work life, me and you pretty much have the same work life.
Almost exactly. Yeah.
Almost exactly the same. So I'm very, thankful for that. Us doing the podcast, staying consistent with it, I'm very thankful for that. And I'm sure the listeners are as well, because we're trying to build a community here and just got to keep chipping away at it. And I feel like we've been doing that very well. But I mean, I'm at the end of the day, I'm very thankful that, we get to continue to do this podcast. And even in the midst of, some great, great big changes, like you getting married, having to move, me moving, because we used to do the podcast, in your apartment. That was our schedule. Now it's not really, I mean, we could do it, but, I think we switched over to a better format that makes it easier.
Works.
And and let us know as well if you guys, I'm sure you miss our video content, but if there has been any changes that you've noticed in our new way we do this podcast, absolutely let us know. Send us a message on Instagram at PCFM Podcast, or no, I was about to plug the email, but our email is
Twitter
down.
too. You guys get a hold of us on Twitter. It's PCFM Podcast out on Twitter. We manage that and check that pretty regularly. So
okay, great. But yeah, at the end of the day, I think, us being able to do this podcast, us being able to do Shift Fire and continue to, grow those things, you with your streaming, me with Kit God. Kit God has been, it's been here. I've just plugged it a little bit less. It's still around, don't get me wrong. I'm growing it just on the sidelines here. But yeah, those things I'm just extremely thankful for that haven't changed, just because, I mean, that's how we make our living now.
Yeah.
And I'm very thankful for it because, we get to do some crazy cool stuff.
Yeah, we do.
And we don't have a 9 to 5.
Yep.
And I think that alone is, amazing.
Yeah.
Just because I get to sit here, pretty much my job right now is just to make this podcast, do shift fire, and work out. That's literally, I could not
complaints.
Yeah, I could not complain about anything right now. And if I did, someone punch me in the face, get me right.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, good answer, man. Really good answer. All right, so the next thing, now we can get into some kind of pop culture type stuff. One of the questions is, what are 3 movies that you are thankful you watched this year?
Ooh, good one. A lot of good ones came out this year.
Yeah, there were some highlights for sure. I want to talk about this one first because
sure
you put it on the list and I forgot about it. I feel ashamed. But the Northman, dude,
spicy,
so good.
It was so good,
dude. Yes.
Did you watch this in theaters?
Yeah, I went to it, and it's from the same director who did The Witch, which I didn't like, and The Lighthouse, which I hated. And so I was like, this guy, I don't know about this guy. He's not going to get me a third time, but I went, and I'm so glad I did. It was awesome. Yeah. It was an epic Viking story,
Absolutely.
So good. Yeah. What is it? What's his name? Stevens. So he's one of the 8 Skarsgårds, but he played. Yeah, it's basically, I didn't know that Hamlet, the Shakespeare play, Alexander Skarsgård. The Shakespeare play is based off of an old Viking epic, and this is that story. Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
That's why he's called Amleth. Hamlet. Yeah.
Amleth.
And his brother kills his father and takes his mother for his own wife. And Anna Taylor-Joy plays Olga, who's in it as well. And they end up teaming up to get revenge on his uncle Fjolnir. And Nicole Kidman's in it. She does a great job. Queen Gudrun. And Bjork's in it. Willem Dafoe's in it. These guys.
Good, yeah.
Willem Dafoe must be friends with the director because he was in The Lighthouse as well. Ethan Hawke's in it. Plays Bang.
Movie.
Yeah, that movie. Let's not talk about that. But The Northman was amazing.
It was. It's funny because we have different experiences watching it, but at the end of the day, I feel like we were both stoked about it. You watched it in theaters in all its glory. I watched it on my iPhone on an airplane recently. But it did not take away from what I felt getting off that plane. I was pumped the fuck up, dude. I mean, I love Viking culture. I've said it again. If I had to pick one religion, I'd be pagan. Absolutely. Pagan berserker. Pagan. Yeah, marauder pagan. And the thing I respect about the Viking culture is it's warrior based. And, we see a lot of cultures that, a lot of military members tend to gravitate to, even in the fantasy world like The Mandalorian. But Viking culture, at its core, it is about serving Odin and dying gloriously,
pretty much,
on a battlefield. That is the way to eternal glory. And every single person is just about it, right? Mm-hmm. Man, and that movie, it had, amazing action sequences. The Blood Eagle is mentioned in it, everything. And it had fantasy elements of it, like when he's visited by that witch, and she tells him he needs to go, into and find this sword that, and it's like this, it's a regular sword, but the monster he fights to get the sword in like a spiritual form. Like it's not actual fight, but like it's in his, I don't know if it's an internal fight in his head because it happens, but it doesn't happen.
Right.
But just like to get that sword, which is the greatest, like it's the most powerful sword. It's like I don't even know. It's just so good. And, that character, being a son and just, escaping with his life, watching his father be murdered by his brother. He's aware of the entire thing. He thinks his mother's kidnapped. And major spoilers here, folks. But, I mean, you already know, listening to this podcast, that we spoil everything.
Yeah.
But, oh, man, just him coming back. And it shows a little bit of the Oedipus complex in there. You know the Oedipus complex?
Yeah, like kill your father so you can sleep with your mother?
Yeah, where it's like you are attracted to your mother. And that, because at the end of the day, she's like, you will not kill me because you actually want me.
Yeah.
And even though the mom was totally in on the brother, the mom betrayed the father.
Yep.
And he finds it out, and she's right in a way, but then he comes back and is forced to kill her. But oh man, after watching that movie, I was like, I am a warrior. Like watching the Marauders in the beginning when they're like pillaging that village,
and it's like
and they're
a one
climbing.
shot too when they're going through, and it's just all one shot without cutting. That was pretty awesome.
Oh man, yeah, that movie is absolutely epic. I think it's one of the best movies that came out this year. Definitely thankful that movie came out because it gave me so much joy, and it revamped the spirit inside me. I was like, I want to be a Viking again.
Oh man, the thing with me, the rhythm usually is because I try to see a lot of movies in theaters because I love going to that theater, having the theater experience. You see like 4 or 5 bad movies in a row, and it just kind of makes you lose hope for all humanity and like filmmaking. But then you see something like The Northman, and it like reignites. You're like, no, good filmmaking still exists. There are good filmmakers out there. Yeah. So as with all the other ones on this list, but The Northman. If you haven't seen it, folks.
Check it out.
It's really not your
awesome.
Typical story too. It is an epic, like it's a classic fable kind of with all those elements in it. It's not just kind of straightforward revenge story.
Oh yeah, and the final battle in the volcano.
In a volcano. So metal. I love it.
It is so metal. That's a great way to put it. Yeah. Well, we have another one on this list that we're extremely grateful that came out. That the saying is better late than never. This is absolutely better late than never. It was honestly, fighting the Northman for movie of the year. Mm-hmm. What is it, Izzy?
Top Gun Maverick.
We've talked about it.
Everybody's seen it by now. We don't even need to tell you because it made $1 billion at the box office.
It did?
Yeah. Oh, it made over $1 billion. Yeah.
Oh my God. You know how much $1 billion is? We think $1 million is a lot. $1 billion is 999,999,999. Yeah, that is of that. Yeah.
I'm gonna go to Box Office Mojo, and I will tell you the grand total. Domestic. Looking at it here. Yeah, 716 million domestic, 770 million international, 1.4 billion worldwide, and it's in theaters for a long time. It was in theaters all summer. I think it's just now leaving.
It was such a good movie.
Yeah.
It was the ultimate sequel.
Yeah, it was. It was, and in some ways better than the original, I would say, because even just technically, it was essentially the same kind of story, but technically speaking, all of the camera work that they did actually being up there in those jets and how they got those jets to do those stunts, where in some instances they were getting really close to one another, just a technical marvel. It was really, and just, God, just...
I feel like they did... I feel like they did everything they wanted to do in the 80s that they literally didn't have the technology to do in this one, so it made it perfect.
Yeah. It was. I saw it 3 times in the theater because I saw it for me, and then I would have in 2 more times. I would have. I think somebody wanted to see it. That like a friend of mine. I'm like, I'll go see it with you. Let's go see it. So yeah, just a lot of fun.
Amazing, dude. Yeah, Top Gun Maverick. We visited this movie in multiple episodes of this podcast. It needs no more glory because it is beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, but this one actually, I also attempted to watch it on an airplane, but I ran out of time. I only saw the beginning. Mm-hmm. So you got to tell me about this one.
Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Yes.
Oh, so good. So good. Was such an original take on the multiverse.
Sure.
Because and Michelle Yeoh, she's a classic, man. She's an international treasure. She's been around for so long doing kung fu, and she does what she does best, but she's also a really phenomenal actress as well. She's like this older mom who runs a laundromat who's having financial problems, so she gets audited. And Jamie Lee Curtis is the woman who's auditing her, and she does such a good job. She plays this like stodgy old auditor lady, and then she has like Auditor of the Year awards, and they all look like butt plugs. That's thing, and they use that later on in the movie in one of the most original ways. But like basically, she finds out that there's this evil force that's kind of swallowing up universes, and it's coming for her. And so her husband from a different universe inhabits his own body in this universe and tells her about it. He says, you've got to tap into your true potential, and you can kind of like tap into an alternate version of yourself where you made different life choices by by like doing some sort of like special, like you either got to like say something or do something really wild, or you need to kind of tap your mind into that other place and you can kind of connect it. And they like download it into your brain. And so, you know, it just goes off the rails. She finds out that this evil entity
Is it like a Matrix kind of thing?
Yeah, it's kind of a Matrix thing. Exactly. And her daughter ends up being inhabited by this entity. So she has to fight her daughter. And it just goes crazy. And then it jumps around. It's all, you know, it's all about like, it has a bit of an atheistic kind of bent to it because it's like nothing means anything. You know, your life choices don't matter. So that's either like a good thing or a bad thing. So it's like you're either free or like nothing matters. So like life doesn't matter. So they kind of play with those ideas as well. It's just really great. It's one of those movies where you see a bunch of bad movies in a row. And then you see this one, you're like, oh, this is what a great, well-told story looks like, you know? So.
When I thought you couldn't get any dumber, you go and completely redeem yourself.
And the Kung Fu, it's a Kung Fu action movie as well. And the Kung Fu is really great. It's really original too.
Good, man. Yeah, I know. Like I said, I started it on the plane. And I got to the scene where she punches Jamie Lee Curtis's character and she gets all offended and like the husband and like brings her into the broom closet and he's like, hey. And and then she finally does like the first kind of switch. That's where I cut off. But it was like even up to that scene, you're like, this movie is about to go off and off the rails.
I would say I don't know what you have you have the ever expanding list of movies that you need to see. I don't know what's at the top, but I would put this at the top. Like it's really good. It's really satisfying.
Okay, it's like my top 3 right now on that list. I believe are Thin Red Line, Uncommon Valor, and I guess this one now.
I would put this one at the top. Both of those other two are good, but this one really, it's kind of like, I don't know. And if you get into the philosophy of it, it can be very like affecting because it kind of makes you think, you know. So
like what else is there? Is Rick and Morty right?
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah, man. Those 3. Or you also have one more on here. Oh, I know we said 3 movies, but
I know.
Let's talk about this one really quick because I feel like I have a lot to say.
Yes, the Batman.
In very few words.
Yeah, the Batman. Yeah.
The Batman.
It's hard to reinvent Batman because so many actors have played it in the past. It's been done in so many different ways. But no, this one, real dark and yet still comic book. It still takes place in the comic book universe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's super grounded. But I would say a little more imaginative. Well, I was going to say imaginative. Like Christopher Nolan's Batmans are great, but they're super grounded, right?
Yeah, they're military guys.
Yeah, this one's dark, but it takes place in. I feel like it has more of a comic book feel, if that makes any sense.
Sure, but it's not as comic booky as like the Tim Burton one.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't go well off the rails. But what you said, you have a lot to see. You really enjoyed this one? It
was long. I just no. So I thought it was well done. Okay. I like the story. The story is better than any of the Batmans that I've seen, except for the Nolan. The Nolans everyone knows the Nolan are my favorite ones, just because they're super real. They're realistic, right? And Heath Ledger's Joker is undefeated. But the only thing was, I've talked about this with you before, but just. Robert Pattinson as Batman just doesn't sell it for me.
He doesn't
in
do it.
My yeah, it's like in my head, Batman is giant. He's supposed to be a force to be reckoned with.
Ben Affleck, you think like Ben Affleck style?
I think I would love if Ben Affleck let me rewind here. I would like if the Nolan Batman, Christian Bale, was the size of Ben Affleck for that movie. That would be absolute perfection. Wow. But Ben Affleck as Batman, I mean, they did it obviously different. But in my mind, that scene in Ben Affleck's version, even like, what is it? Batman versus Superman when he's training to fight Superman. Yeah. And there's that sequence where he's like deadlifting 500 pounds and he's doing pull-ups with like 4 giant truck towing chains around him. I'm like, to me, that is a Batman. This Batman can pick you up by your neck and snap your neck. But, I don't know, just Robert Pattinson. I think the acting was good, but I don't feel like, Robert Pattinson could do everything that he did in that movie, just being Robert Pattinson. That's just how I felt. Plus, when he's pushing that, like, what is it, table across the.
He's like struggling.
He's like struggling, and he looks like Christian Bale in The Machinist. Like he's not like yoked, you know. I don't know. I'm just super biased because like. You know, Ranger's gonna think what a Ranger thinks the best soldier is a fucking jacked up soldier. So
that's all right, man. Hey, everybody, you know, when it comes to mythical figures, comic book figures like Batman or Superman, you're allowed to have your favorites, and it's like all good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there are any wrong answers when it comes to unless I don't know. I suppose there are wrong answers out there, but I like
the movie. I thought the movie was good. I was actually gonna. It's on my list to rewatch it again.
Yeah, I got to rewatch that too. I haven't seen it since the theaters.
Yeah, I just like I said, I think it's one of the best Batman stories. I like how it sheds light on like Bruce Wayne's father not being a good guy.
Yeah,
like just it's not all rainbows and butterflies. Even though Bruce Wayne goes through a lot of tragedy and loss, and usually all the other films paint his family as like the savior of Gotham City. Yeah. But I like how this one kind of shows the dark side of them.
Yeah, I like that, man. Yeah, I like that too, and it's a good mystery. And then Selena Kyle does really well. What's her name? Zoe Kravitz as Selena Kyle. So I appreciate that. And boy, what's his name? The Riddler.
The Riddler's character is cool.
Yeah,
he's like he uses
Paul
his
Dano.
brain. He's a normal guy.
Yeah,
but he uses his brain, not like Jim Carrey where he's wearing tights all around.
Yeah, you can see his little ween, and he's got a cane.
Yeah, his little ween and his cane. But cool, man. Yeah, the Batman. This was a very anticipated movie that came out this year. This was actually the only movie besides Top Gun this year that I saw in theaters.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, man.
I don't get out to the movie theaters a lot. I usually wait for it to stream because I'm, a hermit and I like to stay indoors. But yeah, the Batman and Top Gun were the only movies this year that I actually left my hole to see in theaters because I felt they deserved to be watched in theaters.
If you were only going to see 2 movies in theaters, you saw the right ones.
Okay, good. Yeah, okay, what's next? Let's see. A book you read, because let's face it, none of us read too much. I mean, this is all you, man, because I didn't read a book.
You didn't read what about audiobooks? Because the one that I'm going to talk about is an audiobook. I finished...
Oh, is it?
Yeah. I haven't finished any. Oh, you never finished any. The one I finished this year was A Memory of Light. It's the final book in the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan. They came out with the Wheel of Time series on Amazon, which sucked. And so as that was coming out, I was like, I got to finish the series because I'd never finished it. I'd read all the way up until the last book. So it's long. It's like 45, 50 hours worth of book. And so I finally finished it, and I was very happy with the ending, very happy with the resolution. I thought Brandon Sanderson did a great job, with a very monumental task that he was given. I think he's a pretty good writer. So I was really happy about that. Well, I guess I can't say anything about it, just in case years from now they actually do finally decide to follow the books with the television series. But I was very satisfied with how everything went down. So I'm always reading something. I like to fancy myself a reader. So I'm reading a Christian book right now, and I'm reading the Lord of the Rings for the first time through, and then we also have. Every day we do on my stream something called the Daily Gun, where I have a book of modern day small arms from armies around the world, and we pick a number at random. And we just go and we look at a firearm. So
that's cool, man. I'm looking at my Audible right now, and I only have 2 books that I'm listening to currently. I started the Silmarillion,
nice,
but it's like 14 hours long, and I'm like 2 hours into it. But and then my second book is Norse mythology.
All right.
It just tells Norse mythology, and I'm halfway through that. But that's pretty much the only things I've been listening to this year.
That's classic, man. Norse mythology is pretty thick.
Oh yeah, it's very thick, and there's a lot of names, and there's a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
But okay, next on the list, favorite episode of Shift Fire. Go.
Favorite episode of Shift Fire for me was the Krav Maga episode. It just came out recently for us, yeah, that one was really great. Omer, combatworks.net, Krav Maga. Never taken it before. Actually, since I've been married, he's kind of down here where I'm at, and I've been to a couple of his classes since then. You're
an animal, dude.
Yeah, it's not easy, man. I just go in like kind of the regular outfits that you and I were in, just teams in a t-shirt, because that's kind of when you get attacked, you're not going to be in your sweatsuit, you know.
Sure.
But it's really fun, and it's full of contact. It's kind of like Brazilian jiu-jitsu, where it's full body, very committed. Everything you're doing is very full body committed. So that was my favorite episode this year that we released.
Well, good, man. It is not mine, because that fucking hurt. So good for you. Proud of you for keep going on back. But my favorite episode was probably going to be the ghillie suit episode, just because I feel like I put a lot of work for that episode. Yeah, building a ghillie suit, for those that have never built a ghillie suit, and a ghillie suit in general is the camouflage suit that snipers and reconnaissance use in order to hide themselves. It takes a lot of work. So I put like literally a week's worth of work into making this suit, and the video turned out amazing. So I think that was the most fulfilling video we've made, just because, you know, my hard work paid off. But then, you know, 2 honorable mention was our Survivor series that hasn't came out yet. So if you're listening to this, you kind of get a kind of little sneak peek, maybe. But we made fire from nothing. That just made me feel like a fucking man. and then obviously the stunt driving, that was just so much fun. Just getting able to, like, you know, rip the tires off of a vehicle by doing like donuts and by figure eights and learning the J turn. Oh man, that was so much fun.
Yep. Yeah, that was really fun. That's not one of our more successful videos, but boy, that day was so much fun.
Yeah, no.
Keep an eye out, secret preview for our Patreon members, November 18th, 2022, FTX Fire Making, November 18th.
Oh, November 18th. Okay, right on. I mean, maybe this will be out.
Maybe this will be out by the time, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully it should be out. Yeah,
it should have come out if this is our Thanksgiving episode. What am I saying?
Oh, yeah, November 24th. Yep, so check out the Fire one if you haven't. Okay.
Nice. All right, Cameron, we're kind of wrapping it up. We're kind of getting to the end of our show. So let's talk about maybe a couple of wins this year, teachable moments, if you had any, and then something to improve on in 2023. Why don't you go first?
Okay. Yeah, let's knock these out. So 3 wins this year. I think I mentioned this earlier, but getting engaged, huge win. You know, found the lady for the rest of my life.
Yes.
Super secret surprises and opportunities that I can't talk about, but they're really exciting and they're really big.
Folks.
You will not be disappointed, folks. Working on something huge. So excited for that. And then being Izzy's friend, obviously. That's That's a win.
Cam. I appreciate
and then my trip to Italy this year was a definite win. Getting to travel was always fun.
Yeah.
What about you, buddy?
I was really happy to go to SHOT Show this year, and hopefully you and I can get that going next year. Super amazing. And this next year, hopefully be able to really fully utilize it as a networking experience and meeting some people. I just kind of wandered around and I met some crazy people. So hopefully with intention this year, you and I can go and really clean up, you know. Meeting a wonderful woman and marrying her in the same year. It was a very short engagement, and I'm very happy about that. So things are going really well. And also being your friend, man. This has been an amazing ride, and I hope we can continue to have many more adventures together. And the last one, honorable mention, my quick trip to Ukraine, just helping out however I could with some of the refugees. That was a really cool experience, and I hope I can do something else sometime.
Well, I think, you know, that's a great way to just end our discussion here. A lot of things to reflect on from 2022. 2023 is going to be a hell of a year cut. We're excited to see what happens on the podcast. We're excited for everybody listening to this, for things that y'all are up to. Definitely let us know by sending us a message on Patreon if you're a Patreon subscriber, or on our Instagram or Twitter, PCFM Podcast. But let's take a moment to shout out a new Patreon subscriber. One of the benefits of subscribing, we get to mention your name, and we want to welcome Tucker. Yes, Tucker. Thank you. Subscribe. Yep. Welcome, Tucker, to the Patreon family, man. We're excited to have you and looking forward to seeing you at one of the live stream events, my friend. But we also got a fan question.
Well, this question actually is kind of it's more just a question from us to all of you. And we just want you to reflect and take a minute out of your day to reflect on what you are thankful for this year. It's important to take stock of these kinds of things. Even if you don't think there's much out there, you can always find something to be thankful for. I'm a firm believer that gratitude is a skill that you have to cultivate. We kind of have a negativity bias, generally.
A bunch of damn pessimists out there.
Yeah, in life, and it's easy to get in that mindset, but it's just as important to push against it and practice gratitude. You got something. You got a couple things probably, and if you're listening,
you
to this,
woke up this morning.
That's right. You're 6 feet above ground, or you're 6 feet. You're above ground. You're not 6 feet under, which means you're still alive, unless you're a zombie, in which case we're coming for you. But
you're done, son.
So yes, that's our question to all of you. Thinking about that going into our Thanksgiving holiday.
Okay, great, man. A lot of things, like I said, a lot of things to think about, be thankful for. Absolutely. And I'm thankful for the game we're about to play because I hope to redeem myself.
I hope you are thankful. I hope at the end of this you are thankful because I put a little bit of love into this one. I'm very excited.
Okay, I'm ready to be doused in your love.
So this game is called Doomsday Devices.
Doomsday.
Yes, the bad guys love them. The good guys have to stop them. It's a tale as old as time. So in this game, I will say a doomsday device or some sort of mega weapon or whatever, and you have to tell me what happens within the final battle. How do they stop it? If they stop it, if they don't stop it, just generally, you don't have to get too detailed, but like it's what happens with it, right?
Okay, I got you.
So there's no warm up. We're just gonna get right into it. So
let's do it, man.
All right, first one, kind of an easy one. The Infinity Gauntlet from Avengers Endgame.
Okay. From Endgame.
Yes,
okay.
Endgame.
From Endgame. I mean, it still goes off, but, it just does an opposite. It brings everyone kind of back, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of destroying half the population.
Yeah, bring everybody back. What else happens? I actually wasn't thinking of that moment. I was thinking of the very end, the final battle.
The final battle. When he's like, I'm Iron Man. And he snaps his fingers?
Yep, that's it, man.
I thought that brings everyone back.
No, they have two snaps. They get it back because they assemble all the stones from different time periods, and Hulk snaps it and brings everybody back. But then they get attacked by Thanos, and Thanos gets it back. He's like, I'm going to destroy everything. But then Tony Stark slips the stones off, grabs his own little gauntlet, and then says, I'm Iron Man, snaps, and then kills Thanos and his minions.
Thanos. Okay. Yeah. I got you.
Good. That's a double. You get double points for that one because you gave me two answers. So
okay, sounds good.
Next one, number 2, the Death Star from Star Wars: A New Hope.
A New Hope. Yeah, it totally just wipes the planet.
At the end, what happens at the end?
A New Hope. Is that the? That's not Return of the Jedi. Yeah, doesn't it just what? A New Hope is the 4th one.
Yeah, it's the first movie that ever came out.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah.
Yeah, doesn't it just...
Well, they do use it, but what happens at the end? What happens in the final battle?
The final battle and A New Hope. Nothing, right?
What? Yes.
Nothing happens.
No, something happens. Luke.
With the Death Star?
Skywalker.
Yeah. But it's not Return of the Jedi where they completely... Oh, wait, no, they scrap it. Oh, I'm getting that mixed up. Okay. Oopsies. Yeah, they blow the Death Star up.
Okay, good. Good answer. Good. It's the trench run. Luke fires the torpedoes.
Why am I thinking that? Yeah, why am I thinking that happens in Return of the Jedi?
Well, because it happens like 3 times. It happens Return of the Jedi because they build another one. And then it happens again in The Force Awakens because they build Starkiller Base, which is an entire planet with a gun in it.
Yeah, I got you. Okay, my bad, getting confused. I won't take that point because you had to feed me a lot, so I'll be a fair play.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. You'll probably get this next one. The Halo from Halo 1.
They blow that bitch up.
Yeah. Do you remember how? I'll take that answer, but do you remember how they blow it up?
Don't you shoot a rocket launcher into a port or something like that?
No, that's Star Wars. No.
Is that Star Wars?
No, that's the torpedoes. But this one, Chief and Cortana, they get the neural limb implant from Commander Keyes, and they blow up the Pillar of Autumn. So they self-destruct it, and then that blows up the ring, the Halo ring.
I gotcha.
But they do blow it up, so I'll take your answer.
Okay, I'll take it. Yeah. What am I thinking of? What game am I thinking of that they shoot a rocket launcher into a little hole, and that's how you win? Maybe is that a different Halo?
I think that's a couple different games. But there's always one last final shot you got to get in, to blow up.
Well,
the
they
bad
blew
guy.
it up. That's what I said. I'll take that one.
You're right. You'll take it.
If I'm going to take that one, I'm going to take that one.
You take it. All right, next one. The nuclear bomb in The Dark Knight Rises.
The nuclear bomb in The Dark Knight Rises.
It's technically a fusion reactor that's
that's not a nuke. It's like superheats the water.
Neutron bomb. Yeah.
Yeah, it basically gets rid of water. Yeah, it takes away all their supplies. Yeah, it goes off, and then they kind of just like fighting it. What happens at the end there? They end up getting it and shutting it down, right? But it goes off. Like, it takes that entire island and turns it into like a crazy town because they put everything in the water, and then it like turns it into steam, and then everyone's going crazy.
You're talking about Batman Begins. This is the Dark Knight
Batman
Rises.
Begins.
This is the third one.
Oh, the third one? Oh, yeah, Batman puts it on a thingy, and then he rides off into the sunset.
Yeah. Yes, that's true. It explodes.
It explodes, yeah.
It does explode. They think he's dead, but then he sees him.
He's definitely not dead.
Yeah, he sees him at the Michael Caine sees him at the restaurant, and they nod knowingly to one another. Okay, I'll give that one to you. It's Thanksgiving time. It's time to be thankful. I'll give you thankfulness points. All right, next one. I don't know if you'll get this one. If you ever saw it, you were kind of young, but Magneto's mutation machine from the first X-Men movie.
Magneto's mutation machine. I remember this, but what happens again?
Are you looking on your computer?
No,
I hear you clicking.
Just clicking. I'm not. You would hear typing if you wanted to.
All right.
But oh man, this has been a long time because there's Toad with the long tongue in it. I remember when he's fighting Storm and he's like holding on by just his tongue. Yep. But what happens with that thing? I'm pretty sure since it is the first X-Men, they destroy it.
Dude, I'll give you a half a point for generally being right, but do you remember how they do it at all?
No.
Okay.
I don't.
Right.
I don't remember how
Wolverine,
they do it at all.
they have Storm floats him up there with her storm powers, and he falls. Rogue's there. She's been forced to turn it on because it like amplifies the magnetic power. Spinning around that big glowing thing. He's heading towards Ellis Island. Turns people into basically, if they have the mutant gene, it activates it and turns them into mutants. But it's also deadly because it's unstable. But he gets in there and he hits it with his claws and it explodes and stops it. So
okay.
So yeah. Anyway, so
I got one for you. You want to just end on this note?
Yeah,
I hope you don't have this one written down.
No, it's fine.
From Spider-Man 2, the Sun Generator.
The Sun Generator, the power of the sun in the palm of
Power
my
of the
hand.
sun.
Yeah.
What happens at the end?
Well, it starts to go crazy, and Dr. Otto Octavius says, "Oh, I'm not going to die a monster." So he takes it and he grabs it and he pulls it apart and then he drowns with it. He basically drowns it in the ocean. He drowns with it. So.
Oh, okay, you're good to go. Just checking. Is that on your list?
No, it's not. That's a good one, though. I had the Alien Mothership at Independence Day. I had the Genesis device and Wrath of Khan. All things that blow up, basically. They nuke the Alien Mothership, and then the Wrath of Khan, the Genesis device, activates and creates a planet that's unstable. But yeah. Oh,
I gotcha. Well, cool, man. That got me thinking. That's a good one. I'm sorry my answers were so generic and not the ones you totally wanted, or are worthy of IMDb summaries.
That's all right. That's a lot of I like doing the games because it's more of what I love doing, which is just nerding out over the things that I enjoy. So
sure, I love participating, my friend. It's a good dynamic.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. Well, folks, that is all we got for this episode of the Pop Culture Field Manual Podcast. We hope you have an amazing Thanksgiving with your loved ones. A lot of stuff to be thankful for, but more importantly, we're thankful for you listening today. Izzy, you got anything?
Well, yes, that is true, Cameron. We are very thankful for all of you. We couldn't do this without you. I mean, we could do it without you, but nobody would be listening, so we appreciate all of you listening.
We'd literally just be talking to each other.
Yeah. We realize this is an American holiday of Thanksgiving. So it's a time to reflect on the things that you have been given, the prosperity that you have, and the friends and family and loved ones that you have surrounded yourself with. So we're thankful to be surrounded by all of you. So we appreciate you guys. Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
And cue music.
What's going on, everybody? You just listened to the free version of the PCFM podcast. If you want full-length versions of podcast episodes, plus much, much more, head on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/PCFM podcast.
That is right, Israel. If you want access to this full episode, you have to subscribe to the Fuzzy Private tier, which is our cheapest tier on Patreon at $5 a month. But if you are interested in a little bit more, we also have the Salty Sergeant tier at $8 a month and the Lifer tier at $12 a month. So hopefully we will see you there, PCFM family. Cue music.